Hello everyone, welcome to this video lecture on simplex method part 2. In the previous video lecture, we have discussed about important definition in linear programming problem, and we have discussed about two different forms of LPP, that is canonical form and standard form, and we also discussed about the simplex method procedure to solve an LPP. Normally, this simplex method will be used when there are more than two decision variables in the linear programming problem. Today in this video lecture we are going to discuss about some special cases in simplex method. There are three different special cases available. One is minimization problem, another one is unboundedness problem, the third one is multiple optimum solution problem. First we will discuss about minimization problem. So minimization problem is given here. If the minimization problem is given, first we have to convert this minimization problem into maximization problem. Then only we can proceed with the normal simplex method procedure. And here the objective function minimization function is given, and we have three sets of constraint equations, and we have a non-negativity constraint. First, we have to convert this minimization objective function equation into maximization objective function equation. How we have to convert this as just by multiplying the minimization objective function equation by -1, we can convert this minimization function into maximization function. Here the minimization function is given as z is equal to x1 minus 3x2 plus 2x3. If we just multiply this with -1, we will be getting it as minus x1 plus 3x2 minus 2x3. The same thing is given in the next slide, like this. And just we can have the z dash as maximization function, where z dash represents minus z. So this is how we have to convert the minimization objective function into maximization objective function. After that, just go into the constraint equations. We have three different equations, and first two equations are less than or equal to type, so there is no need to modify this. But the third equation is given as greater than or equal to type. So if it should be in the canonical form, it should be converted into less than or equal to form. So just the previously it was 4x1 minus 3x2 minus 8x3 greater than or equal to minus 10. Just by multiplying it with -1, it has been converted into minus 4x1 plus 3x2 plus 8x3 less than or equal to 10. So if we just multiply an equation with -1, the greater than or equal to will be converted into less than or equal to. This is what we are doing to convert normal problem into canonical form. And we have to add the non-negativity constraint. Just we are going back once again. So this is a given problem. You can see the greater than or equal to constraint here. We have just converted that into less than or equal to constraint just by multiplying it with -1. It is given as 4x1 minus 3x2 minus 8x3 greater than or equal to minus 10. If we just multiply it with -1, it will be minus 4x1 plus 3x2 plus 8x3 less than or equal to 10. Right? So this is how we have to convert the normal problem into canonical form, and the same way minimization function into maximization function. Nothing more than that. Just by multiplying it with -1, we can just convert minimization function into maximization function. The same way greater than or equal to sign into less than or equal to sign, just by multiplying it with -1. So this is the canonical form. Now we have to convert this into standard form to proceed with the simplex procedure. Before proceeding with the simplex procedure, we have to check whether all these are less than or equal to constraint and all the RHS are in greater than or equal to 0 value. Then only we can proceed with the simplex method. If any one of this is a negative number, we have to go with big M method. Okay, next we'll proceed with this normal simplex procedure. We have to add the slack variables to convert this constraint equation into standard form. Before that, we have to modify the objective function equation so that it will be equal to 0 like this. Then we are adding the slack variables to convert the canonical form into standard form, and these are all the non-negativity constraint. And the initial basic feasible solution is x1 is equal to 0, x2 is 0, x3 is 0, s1 is 7, s2 is 12 and s3 is 10, and the z value will be 0. It is z dash is 0. By having this, we have to construct the basic feasible solution table, initial basic feasible solution table. Just we have just taken all the coordinates, and after considering this, we have to look for most negative number in the z function row. Most negative number is -3. So we have to choose this column, and the corresponding column is key column, and the corresponding variable is actually called as entering variable. Here x2 is entering variable, and after calculating this, after finding it down, then we have to calculate the ratio, and the ratio should be calculated only for positive key column elements. Here we have a negative key column element, so we have to put dash here, and for other two values we have to calculate the ratio. The ratio can be calculated just by dividing the solution by the key column element. So 12 by 4 it is 3, 10 by 3 is 10 by 3. After finding out the ratio, after calculating the ratios, we have to choose the minimum non-negative ratio among these two. Minimum non-negative ratio is 3. So the corresponding row is called as key row, and this is the intersecting element. This is actually called as key element, and here S2 will be the leaving variable. Alright. So S2 should be replaced with X2 in the next iteration table, and we have to make key element as 1 and all other key column elements as 0 by performing row operation. So in the iteration 1 table, first we have to convert the key element as 1 just by dividing it with the same, dividing the entire key row with the key element which was 4. So it will be converted into 1, and we have to perform the row operation like this to convert all this rows into, all the key column elements into 0 values. It is so simple. We should not change anything, any z function row. We have to just take it as a old z value, and we have to multiply 3 with the key column, key row and key row elements, and we have to add it with that, so that we can just make this as 0. The same way, R1 means old R1 plus R2, R3 means old R3 minus 3R2. How this plus R2 plus R3R2 minus 3R2 comes means, just go back to the initial basic feasible table. Here you can look at this. So it will be converted into 1 after dividing the entire key row by 4. So if it is 1, this would be, this actually minus 3. So the key row should be multiplied with 3 and then added. So while coming to the z function row, it was old, it will be old z plus 3R2. Like this. The same way we have to do the row operations like this. After performing all these things, we will be getting the values here. Then we have to check whether the optimality condition is reached or not. How we can do is, we have to check the z function row. If there is a negative element That means the optimality condition is not reached. So we have to perform one more iteration. If you have any confusion while calculating or while fixing this row operation, just go back to the previous video and learn it once and then come to this. It will be very clear for you. Alright. So we have to move on to the next iteration just by choosing the most negative element in the Z function row. So it will be minus 1 by 2, and the corresponding column is called as key column. Then we have to calculate the ratio only for the positive key column element. So we have only one positive key column element, so ratio should be calculated for that. The ratio is solution by the key column element 10 divided by 5 by 2, so it will be 4. So we have only one ratio, so obviously we will be choosing this row as key row, and this will be your key element. And we have to repeat the same procedure for the next table. So we have to make this as 1, and this will be x1 will be the entering variable, s1 will be the leaving variable. So by performing the row operation, we have to move on to the next iteration table like this. So we have to convert key element as 1 and all other key column elements as 0 by performing the row operations like this. After doing this, we have to once again check for optimality condition. Here there is no negative element in the Z function row. That means the optimality condition is reached. So we can pick the value from the optimum solution from the table. So the optimum solution are x1 is equal to 4, x2 is equal to 5, and there is no x3 in this basic variable table. That means that will be equal to 0. If there is no non-basic variable entering into this basic variable place, means that will be equal to 0. And Z dash value is 11, but what we need is Z value. So it should be multiplied with minus 1, so that Z minimum value is equal to minus 11. This is how we have to calculate and arrive at an optimum solution for the minimization function. This is one of the special case. Next special case is unbounded solution problem. There is a maximization problem is given, two constraints are given and one non-negativity constraint is given. First thing is, we have to check whether this problem is in canonical form or not. We have a maximization function and two less than or equal to type constraint, and RHS value is positive. So it is in canonical form. We can directly convert into standard form by just adding the slack variables. And the modified form is that minus 3x1 minus 4x2 is equal to 0. And then subject to the constraints, we are adding S1 and S2 here, so that it will be converted into standard form. And we have to take the initial basic feasible solution from this. This is our initial basic feasible solution. All the decision variables are 0. S1 is 1, S2 is 2, and the objective function is 0. Next, we have to construct the initial basic feasible solution by having all this cost coefficient. So this is actually our initial basic feasible solution. So we have to look for most negative value in the Z function row. The most negative value in the Z function row is minus 4. The corresponding column is key column, and the corresponding variable will be the entering variable. Then after finding out this, we have to calculate the ratio, and the ratio should be calculated only for positive key column element. We have only one positive key column element, and the ratio should not be calculated for Z function row. It should be calculated only for this constraint equations, and that too only for positive key column element. The ratio is solution divided by key column element. So 2 by 1 will give you 2. So obviously we have only one ratio. The corresponding row will be the key row, and the intersecting element will be the key element. We already have the key element as 1. So there is no need to convert the key element as 1. And we have to make all other key column elements as 0 by performing row operations. What will be the row 1 operation? It will be old R1 then plus R2. So that will be 0. And Z will be old Z plus 4 times R2. Like this. So just by performing all these row operations, we will be modifying the table, and this will be the iteration 1 table. Next we are checking for the optimality condition. If there is any negative element in the Z function row, that means the optimality condition is not reached. So we have to perform the same procedure again. So we have to choose the most negative number here. The most negative number is -7 and the corresponding column is key column, and the corresponding variable will be the entering variable. And to find out the leaving variable, we have to calculate the ratio. Here the ratio should be calculated only for positive key column element. Here there is no positive key column element. One is 0, another one is -1. There is no positive element exist in the key column element. So we couldn't calculate the ratio. If this is the case, that means the problem is having unbounded solution. This is a special case of LPP. So if this is the case, that is, if there is a situation where the ratio cannot be calculated for any of the constraint equations, we can just stop it over there and we can just write it as the particular problem is having an unbounded solution. This is the second special case of simplex method. We'll move on to the next special case. The next special case is multiple optimum solution. That is, the particular problem may have two or more optimum solution. We'll check how we can find it out. This is a given problem, that is maximization function. We have two constraint equation and one non-negativity constraint equation. By just comparing this actually already in the canonical form. It is a maximization function and we have two less than or equal to constraint. So it is already in the canonical form. We can directly convert this into standard form just by adding the slack variables like this. So Z function row is modified like this, which is equal to 0. Z -4x1 -14x2 is equal to 0. And the constraint equations are added with the slack variables so that this less than or equal to symbol will be converted into equal to symbol. And we are having a non-negativity constraint, and the initial basic feasible solution is all the decision variables are 0 and S1 is 21, S2 is also 21. This is our initial basic feasible solution. And by having all this data, we have to construct the initial basic feasible solution table by having all this cost coefficient values like this. After constructing the initial basic feasible solution table, what will be the procedure? We have to look for most negative number in the Z function row. The most negative in the Z function row is -14. So the corresponding column will be the key column and the corresponding variable is actually called as entering variable. And after finding out the key column, we have to calculate the ratio, and the ratio should be calculated only for positive key column element. And we have both the values of positive values. So we have to calculate ratio for both the constraint equation. So it is 21 by 7, 3, 21 by 2, 10.5. So we have to choose the least non-negative number. Least non-negative number is 3. So the corresponding row will be called as key row and the intersecting element is key element. Next thing is we have to make the key element as 1 just by dividing the entire key row by the key element, which is 7. Then we have to make all other key element as 0 by performing the row operations. And here the entering variable is x2 and leaving variable is s1. By performing the row operations, we have to construct the next iteration table like this. For R1, this will be the iteration. This will be the operation. For Z1, this will be the row operation, and for R2, this will be the row operation. After constructing the first iteration table, we have to check whether the optimality condition is reached or not. Now, if you see this, all the Z function row will be zeros and positives, that is greater than or equal to 0. There is no negative number. That means the optimality condition is reached. We can just take the solution out of it. The solution, optimum solution is x1 is not in the basic variable. That means x1 is equal to 0, x2 is equal to 3, and z max value is 42. This is our optimum solution. And here comes a very interesting fact, that is, if there is any 0 value for the non-basic variable or the decision variable in the z function row, that means it is an indication that it will have more than one optimal solution. So if at least one of the non-basic variable means decision variable, in the z function row of the final simplex table has a 0 value, it indicates that there is more than one optimal solution. That means it has multiple optimum solution. We have 0 for both the decision variable. If there is only one 0 also, that is an indication that it exists more than one optimal solution. So this problem is having multiple optimum solution. This is also another special case. So in this video we have discussed 3 different special cases in simplex method. One is minimization case, another one is unbounded case, another one is multiple optimum solution. Hope the video is interesting to you. In the next video we will discuss about the artificial variable technique, that is Big M method. Thank you all for the patience hearing. Thank you.